I'm in my favorite house dress. And what's funny about this is that I bought this dress when I was probably either 20, maybe 20, but I bought it from Forever 21 at a local store, not online. And I saw it in the store, and this has been like when I first bought it, I used to wear it on vacation or during the summer here in the Midwest. But um, lately it's been like my house dress. Like when I don't feel like putting nothing on, I'm gonna slap this on to be at least presentable. Because I mean, if I wore this out, granted it's you know older, but it's a very comfort dress. And I'm the day that it weathers completely, I'll be sad because I. It's not that it's worth a bunch of money. I just really like the dress. Anyway, welcome back to Talk Tuesday. My name is Sierra, but on the interwebs I go by Monique. And I'm really excited about today's series or episode in the Talk Tuesday series because there's been a lot going on in the social spaces. And some of it I'll be talking about today. Some of it I may be writing about on my blog, um, Monique Musings, which will be in the description or is in my link tree in my about section. I may even just have the link tree written out here so you all can see when I edit this, add like a post edit note or something, or it'll certainly be in the caption. In any case, we're kicking off our first episode of the year for Talk Tuesday. Now, Talk Tuesday originally was a almost weekly session that I held live on my old TikTok. And I know that ironically, we're losing TikToks very soon, apparently, here in the US. Um, I've actually already lost and been banned from an account because of a mass swarming of old friends being upset with what I was discussing online. Um, and I understand it, but nothing ever came of it. And I just wish everybody the life they deserve, and we good over here. But it was just funny, ironic how last year played out. But I want to talk about some things um, because today, again, it's Talk Tuesday, and Talk Tuesday used to be, like I said, an almost weekly occurrence that we would have. And why I say almost weekly is because I didn't want to commit to bi-weekly because I felt like there would be times that I would want to talk every week, but there may be times that I won't talk for a week or two. And just considering what occurred from over the last 30 days in my life, it makes sense why I may have not been on Talk Tuesday. But I'm really excited to return, and get into some of the things that are scratching my brain in a way that I'm curious about it more enough to talk about it. By no means on any of these topics am I considering myself an expert, but just I have an opinion. So, speaking of TikTok, TikTok obviously has an impending ban, and I have thoughts. Um, TikTok's ban has been making incredible headlines, not even just nationally but globally. And as someone who has had, like I mentioned, two TikToks, one of which I got banned following some drama last year, this topic of losing TikTok forever hits very close to home. Um, I faced a lot of challenges trying to adjust to TikTok in the first place because I was so resistant to getting it. Because I never did Vine. I did Snapchat for a very short period of my life. The things that I've had most consistently is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I've had for over several years, so I would consider that a longer length of time. Um, that being said, I'm really shocked about how Congress had shocked, not really, but like shocked to see happen in my lifetime. Like knowing what I know about the government, I'm not shocked, but like it's still jaunting. Or Not jaunting, that's not the word that I want to say. It's still daunting that it's happening. I don't know why I said jaunting. My lisp and confusion sometimes when I have been gardening is a a little funny. So if my speech is off, I have a lisp and a slight speech impediment, and I'm okay with that. So we just gonna roll with the punches. And plus, I scripted the episode out because I knew I had some things I wanted to make sure I talked about. Um, but I don't like reading from the script, so sometimes it'll sound like I'm being choppy because I'm not enjoying sitting here reading to you all. Um, and so I wanted to make it a little bit more conversational. Not that I need to explain myself, but this is them. Um, my first TikTok, and it's funny because thinking about my first TikTok, I had my account wasn't like massive by any means. I won't say that. But to anybody who is getting consistently hundreds, if not thousands of views, likes, and going live and gaining new followers daily, somewhere in upwards of dozens of followers a day, getting diamonds, getting gifts, just sitting on live, sometimes doing yoga, sometimes singing, sometimes writing, and just like using TikTok as someone with diversity, or that is neurodiverse. Um, Now, nor neurodivergent, I should say, because neurodiverse speaks refers to a group of people. In any case, um, I wanted to make sure that I was like authentically myself, which I have been working the last 4 or 5 years at creating, because I feel like growing up on social media, like I have made the realization the other day that like I've been on social media for 20 years of my life, because 20 years ago I was 11, and I know for a fact I was at the very least playing on Black Planet and should not have. But I'm also of the mind that I probably was definitely in AOL chat rooms, and I probably was in whatever other early internet. I don't know if that was when it was still Paxed or if we had converted over to Blinks by then. Blink by then. Definitely had a MySpace. Oh, we was out here coding. So like I'm used to seeing, and this is not the first time that I've lost the social media, but I've said this in other pockets of the interwebs that TikTok created this place where you could build community, and really just your algorithm was curated in such a beautiful way. And then you had the option to truly see just your followers. And it was dancing, it was music, it was cooking, it was mom talk, which came with its own hurdles, and 304 talk, which came with its own hurdles, and just so many different pockets of humanity that were able to intersect very easily, even in political climates and global terror, as in the pandemic. Like we were able to build community in times when people truly weren't able to be in community, and I think that that was something that was uniquely beautiful to TikTok, that we kind of bonded in quite well, and provoked some very necessary conversations and maybe some disagreements about what should happen. We've experienced two major elections on these apps, because I think TikTok started in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, and the only elections that we would have had is 2020 and 2024 since that year, because the one before that would have been 2016. So, and I don't think they were in existence. I'm pretty sure ByteDance was a organization, and corporation, but I don't think TikTok was established then. Nevertheless, I've thoroughly enjoyed the community that I've built, the mighty little community that I've built, and I'm making lifelong friends. Like some of the people that I looked up to, um, and admired in my experience on social media, and more specifically TikTok. Some of them I'm mutuals with, and not only just like that weird mutuals, but like mutuals that I actually communicate with offline, or more deeply through the DMs, if anything. Um, and the potential of that friendship blossoming just from following each other on a simple app. I think that's really beautiful. Especially these are people like I said, I looked up to. And some people that I, right across the line, I looked up to because we, are chasing the same dreams or have similar goals or are similarly driven. So TikTok really, the loss of TikTok is not something that's a new emotion, a new feeling, but it certainly is sad. Like, we are sad. A lot of us are sad that we're losing TikTok. Um, and I've had to learn to be more curious with the app because there was such an oversaturation of things. And in my first TikTok, I was finding ways to do that moderately successful, and I was satisfied with my results. I got approached a few times for PR from quite a few decent sized companies, and I don't know if that has an element of my likeness being associated with my previous career because I do have a pretty active LinkedIn that will be, more active very soon. And then there's just other spaces where I'm good at what I do in the subsect and niche that I work in. And lately, when I got this second TikTok, I was actually quite discouraged having gotten banned. And so I didn't put as much effort. I would just post whatever. Some days I would go days without posting. I would go days without opening the app. And the engagement, TikTok is one of those engagement based apps where you kind of have to be engaging with the app actively for your content to move. A lot of people would say, and I followed this advice, and I saw it's funny, I started seeing the advice after doing it. I don't know or recall if I saw it before, but I definitely started seeing this advice after doing it. And in my old TikTok, when I would post a few pieces of content, I would go live because I had enough followers to do so. And those my views and my content exponentially grew. And because people probably were being introduced to my live from a video that was posted, because when you post a video and someone is live, their live is like there's a circle there. And that made sense because a lot of times that I would accidentally click on someone's content would be because they were live, but I saw them originally because they were um, recording their video was funny, and it wasn't like one of those, oh, go watch my live. I can't stand those types of videos where it's like, I'm live, I've been live for 24 hours and I'm doing this. I almost always would mark not interested, and sometimes go as far as going to block that account because I'm like, I'm not interested in that type of time. Like when people say they built their timeline built or their FYP brick by brick, I'm one of those people because I definitely had the ability to control what I saw. um, there were times when you accidentally refreshed and missed a video, which thus refreshed the timeline. So you may have missed all that content, and thus the system may think you don't want to see that, but it quickly would adjust back. And that was something that was, again, very uniquely TikTok. So I am going to miss that. I think the only closest thing to TikTok's algorithm is pre Elon Twitter, when you would literally see like-minded people in similar geolocations, and you would be able to make connections with people that you did not know. But there are, some implications that the app has caused, and drama that has been uh, brought on from TikTok. And they're probably have their own separate legal battles or just misfortune that has happened because of it. But it's also been a very beautiful place to, like I said, build community and learn about the globe in a more visual way. And ironically, TikTok isn't is more was originally, more video based. I think they added photos later. Or maybe they always had it, but it definitely was more of a video app. Whereas Twitter whereas Instagram originally was more of a photo app and then short videos, and now you can go live and have long videos and do all these things. So it's interesting to see the scope of just social media over the years. And I think that that's really how millennials have such a unique experience with this because we are the last generation to use VHS regularly and see the transition of technology and media from late 90s, especially if we were early 90s babies, because by the time late 90s came around, we had have generally enough cognitive ability to recognize like what things we liked, and we had a preference which would have been solidified in our memory, maybe not long term, like to the 80s, but some people like myself in my early 30s, I can very much remember probably 4 and 5. I definitely remember being 4 and 5 in the school that I went to. Maybe not every single day, but I remembered a lot of highlights from that year. And so these cultural conversations that happen on TikTok really allow people to just find themselves in a greater community, and so I just appreciate that. Um, Moving on, there have been some crazy discussions though on social media, most notably the debate around Beyonce being labeled a propagandist immediately after her Christmas Netflix performance, and the complex dynamics that the Black diaspora, including and especially concerning biracial identities. If you saw anything about Sucklegate and what came because of that, originally there, I forget the young lady's name, but um, apparently she's came on, I don't know, the day of the performance or the day after or the days after, but she came on to say that Beyonce is a propagandist because of her performance at the Netflix Christmas halftime. And I questioned myself if she knew what the origins of propagandists were. Um, and it's funny because I want to say, I'm not sure who it was. There was somebody that I actually follow because it was definitely on my following tab that explained the origins of propaganda, and what it moved on to, and which the nicer replacement of propaganda is public relations. I want to say that was Imani, aka Crutches and Spice, but I may be wrong. I'll confirm that and probably put that in the caption, or at very least leave a comment once I find it. Um, but the commentators' biracial identity became the fire for hundreds, if not thousands, of conversations. I could not escape videos about that lady, and I eventually had to block her, not because I had any issues with her, but I felt like if I blocked her stitches, I would not see, which I did not see any more stitches. I did see some people who just simply were talking about her, but then I would just mark it not interested, especially after I got the gist of what was going on. I really wasn't interested in the timeline, but I just found it ironic that later I continued to see all these other things happen simply by that initial comment. And then, like I mentioned, we had this whole Sucklegate, where I forget her name. I am bad with names. But she always has her hand over her chest, which I don't know if that's like her gag or if that's just something she does subconsciously or what it is, but it's so notably hers where she gets online and her hands is over her chest, covering, I guess, her cleavage or just resting her hand there. I'm not sure. But there was definitely a split um uh reaction to it in the media and amongst other TikTokers, because so many people found it hilarious, but then other people thought it was, it had broader implications and it garnered so much attention. Oh my God. I felt like 1 week was the propagandist conversation, and then and it maybe had not even been a week, but it felt so long because it was talked about so much. And then we had people dissecting Sucklegate and like all the biracials, and this is not shade when I say this, and this is not to be divisive, but all the biracials like started making all these videos like, why is it that people want to question our blackness when we're biracial? And it's like, then that one guy posted a video about, well, the reason we can be this way, which that in and of itself turned into a whole different conversation, because all he responded and added to the conversation was that statistically speaking, if you look at biracial couples in this country that consist of a white partner and a black partner, more often than not, it's one gender. Uh, and I think it was the white mom because black men are more likely to date white women than black women are to white men. Not to say that it obviously doesn't happen, but the ratio, black man, white woman wins. And I don't know how that sparked disagreement at all. I guess she didn't like that he stitched her stuff, or I'm not sure what happened. That part I will admittedly acknowledge that I am ignorant to what happened in that moment. But it was then turned into the DJ guy, DJ with the um mentioning, yeah, I sent her your video because the original guy who responded, who saw that there was a lot of conversation happening. I don't know if it truly was originally 46 videos or what happened. But he made a friends only video, which I think should be respected. And I feel like that was kind of strange. And then to come online and like boast, like, yeah, I did it. That was badass, but it was still kind of like at the same time corny. And I commented corny. I think I got blocked for that. I may have not, but in any case, I I thought it was corny. I'm like, why do you need to? It's one thing to send it to her, but it's another thing to get online and I don't know if that was just to run up. And this is not shade when I say this because I get it. I don't know if that was to run up numbers because TikTok was getting ready to leave and you knew that it was gonna be messy, or you just truly just was saying it with your motherfucking chest and say, yeah, I said it, bitch, and like it was such a wild thing to see. And I, again, for the most part, don't keep drama on my timeline, so the only time I saw it was because I was on my following tab, and there are some people who are like cultural in the cultural conversation community, essentially podcast hosts, vlog hosts, or yappers that be on TikTok, sit there and have a, you know, a daily dish, if you will, of what's going on in the TikTok streets. And so that was such a quick progression from Beyonce to all of those instances. And so, like, it's funny that now, even today, I've been on TikTok this morning a bit, and I see that the new thing is the red hook or red something app, red note. I don't know. It's something that's in Chinese. It's like the Chinese version of, they said it's like a mix of TikTok and Instagram or something like that, or I'm not sure, but in any case, it's a new app and everybody's, you know, different playing up the I'm moving to a Chinese app because fuck fuck them niggas. And it's hilarious to see the unity that can even prevails in the midst of our last days. We like, yeah, we going out with a motherfucking bang. And it's great. I love it here. I love the experiences that I'm witnessing and the new creative juices that's coming out of what could be a super sad time, which for some people it is, especially those people who quit their job because they were had replaced their income, and hopefully they had replaced. Like, some people leave their jobs too soon and don't have anything that's replacing their income, and when they do and that thing falls through, it may be more difficult to re-enter the world, especially if you had amassed enough following to be getting obviously something worth your salary, especially if it's a good salary. If you amass that wealth through TikTok or any other social media, it's likely that your face is plastered everywhere. And so sometimes people who've gone viral in one way or another find it hard going back into a normal everyday life because they're recognized, and that can hinder their reputation in one way or another. But it definitely caused some lessons to be learned and broke some bonds that probably didn't need to be bonds in the first place. And it kind of shows there needs to be some level of accountability across, um, like from a social ethic and public discourse based perspective, because I think sometimes people will steal content and then something that Francesca Ramsey posted recently on her TikTok. I don't know if she's also posted it to other channels or other social media apps, but she was saying that when you put an article, screenshots of articles behind your head in the green screen and just read it, that is not journalism. That's not public. Uh, uh, it's not like public radio or any type of interpretation or review of it. You're just reading it. And many times people crop out the writer, don't even tag the writer, and give the writer the opportunity to say, hey, thanks for sharing, or hey, can you take this down? I don't appreciate, my work being essentially stolen in front of me. Like, at the very least, tag them so they have the opportunity to look at it. Now, I want to turn our attention to the devastating fires that are happening in Altadena, which is a predominantly Black neighborhood. Now, there are obviously more fires than in that area, but I am learning about these small, predominantly Black towns that I always wonder, not obviously now in what's happening to them, but just generally around the globe, how they're able to preserve their little pocket of Black richness, because that's profound. I think they're similar to how there's pretty predominantly white towns. I would love to see predominantly Black towns where maybe the only reason why somebody of any other race is coming in is because of maybe trying to attend the school on that land, or married in, or hired in, or something like that. But for the most part, the area is predominantly Black. I would love to live in a space like that. Um, and so to know that something like that was, profoundly impacted and changed the community, I think it's crucial to discuss the significance of how we can support those that are affected. Um, I know that there's been a lot of, I just want to pull this up here. There's been a lot of di- um, mutual aid and donation resources that are available. And so there's a mutual aid network of Los Angeles, the MALAN, for the words that I just, mentioned out. They have fire and wind resources. They created a Google spreadsheet. Of the mind. If you just Google, actually, I can put in the caption the link to it so that you all, when I'm done with this video, I'll put that in and add that to and it looks like they're updating every day because today's the 14th and they've already posted the schedule and who's available for today. So I will definitely go ahead and get that added to the caption of the posted live once I'm finished here. Um, there's been a number of structures destroyed and residents displaced. Um, there are specific challenges that are being faced by the Black community of Altadena that are uniquely theirs because many people are third and fourth generation in these homes and they've lost everything. It's not like, and not to say that any other loss, regardless of how new or old the home is any less hurtful, but to know that this is the home that's been in your family for so many decades, in years, in generations, that's just gone. That's a different level of devastation that most of us cannot fathom. And there are other mutual aid efforts that are available. I have them here. The LA Fire Mutual Aid Hub is an interactive guide that's designed to bring people to the exact type of aid required at the location in which it is needed. Those in search of help can find everything from animal boarding and workspaces to free meals and transportation, complete with hours of operations for certain businesses. I'll also include in the caption the list of evacuation centers because there are a good variety of them that are open. I'm checking this list here really quickly. And Yep, I'll go ahead and add that to the list as well of resources that are available. And then there are animal shelters. It also appears that Airbnb has partnered with 211 LA to offer temporary free housing to those who have been displaced or forced to evacuate from the wildfires. Those in need of a place can request aid by filling out an intake form that I will be adding to the link if needed. Or if you're able to offer shelter, to visit Airbnb.org, which I imagine is different than their .com. So this is their maybe nonprofit portion, which is beautiful to see that they even have that. Usually .org indicates that it's an organization, more often than not a nonprofit. And then so for more information on how to sign up and host at free of service fees with damage protection insurance included at no extra cost, which is an amazing opportunity if you have the space and have the temperament to welcome displaced people, either in your personal home or in your private home, or personal home or in a rental space that you have. There is also a GoFundMe spreadsheet that's been actively updated with where they are, percentage what's been donated, and is being updated regularly. I don't know if it's happening automatically, if the information is parsing somehow, or someone is manually going in and updating it. But it does have almost 300 families that have been severely impacted in LA as a whole. Again, Airbnb is offering, you can donate to them to help provide the free emergency housing to people. So obviously, there is a need to facilitate those fees. So those donations would help go towards that and continuing the effort of offering the free housing to those that are impacted. I know that when I originally saw Airbnb make the announcement, it had until a date, and I don't know if that's one to just prevent. I don't know why the date was, or if that's when the fires were anticipated to be done, or if they just have to put an end date and are willing to extend it based on need. I'm not sure. I don't even. I think the date was the 21st, I believe. So for this full week and some, but I'm curious to see how long the offer will be available, if it's going to be based on how many people donate, or if they're going to take a portion of their general sales and fund it as well. Because that's certainly an option. I really need to go get my water, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to mute myself and go get my darn water. Okay. Whew. I have to wet the whistle, y'all. I have to wet the whistle. Um, there is a specific spreadsheet that is a specific to displaced Black families. If I know many people aren't are okay with donating to any particular ethnic background or racial group, but there are some people who more specifically would like to help just Black families. So there is a directory as well, and I'll have that linked as well. Um, there is a California Community Foundation Wildfire Recovery Fund to support both midterm and long-term recovery efforts for those affected by the wildfires. There's also a California Fire Foundation Wildfire and Disaster Relief, providing critical support to surviving families of fallen firefighters, and the community that they serve. There's also an emergency network for Los Angeles, and it's providing assistance to people impacted by the disasters. Habitat for Humanity of Greater Los Angeles is rebuilding homes for those affected by the wildfires. The Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation, which is the official nonprofit of the LACFD, which supports local firefighters and paramedics by providing equipment and tools. So they may have like a donation sheet that you pay this amount. This is what you're paying for a firefighter, and providing resources to pay for the equipment and tools that they need to continue to fight these fires. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is working with government agencies, nonprofits, and faith-based partners to respond to the fires through LA. LA Works is coordinating volunteer power and resources for nonprofits across LA to uplift the entire community. There's the Mutual Aid Network LA funding using funds to support small and local mutual aid efforts across the city, uh, who are doing direct on the ground work. National Day Labor Organizing Network is supporting impacted immigrant workers and their families in finding shelter and emergency services. I'll have this linked as well, in helping the Pasadena Community Job Center and continue to distribute food, water, N95 masks, and other personal protective equipment, or PPE. The Pasadena Community Foundation Eaton Fire Relief and Recovery Fund is providing flexible support to local nonprofit organizations as they respond to the local Eaton fire. Pasadena Humane Society is providing medical support to over 300 animals, many of whom are suffering from burns and other injuries. Project Hope, and that's Hope all capitalized, is coordinating the with government officials and local organizations to rush urgent aid and supplies to survivors. Salvation Army is providing food, water, shelter, and other needed resources to those affected by the fires. United Way of Greater Los Angeles, the organization's Wildfire Response Fund, is focusing on longer term recovery efforts to support the members of the local community. And last but certainly not least, the World Central Kitchen is supporting first responders and families impacted by fires by providing immediate relief in form of water and meals. So there are so many resources, and I know this is not an exhaustive list. This is just what I had in front of me when I was scripting it up, and I tried to do a thorough research, but I know I did not and could not search everything, even preparing when everything started, because there's so much going on in different pockets. But I will continue to update, even with what I have today and any other um, mutual aid efforts that I'm finding. I will add to the caption, and it will be long. I may may also go ahead and just create a separate list of all the ones that I find, and keep that updated as much as I possibly can, or hand it off to my assistant to do. And then there's been some large celebrity um, uh, donations. Beyonce donated 2.5 million to the LA Wildfire Relief Fund, one of the funds that I mentioned a moment ago, through her charity Be Good. Paris Hilton's volunteer work at animal shelters and raising efforts for displaced families. Again, as I mentioned, there's a spreadsheet of GoFundMe campaigns, and just encouraging audience support. So sharing with your family, because there are some people who don't. I don't know how you would not know, but then in the same breath, I do know how people who are chronically online and may not watch the news and are kind of in their own echo chamber, may not know. So please be, even while on operating on social media, they may have tailored their social media to not show certain things. And so they may not even be aware of what's going on. So just sharing with your community, donating what you can. Something that I've tried to start doing is, when I have a random moment at the end of a day, if I've made some extra money by doing something that's typically not in my regular flow of income, not excessively, but certainly within generous reason, if that makes any sense at all. I've been going into different GoFundMe's, and if I see wherever they are to the tens place, I round that up to the next 100. And if it's less than 10, I may go up more than that to like the next 50 or something or whatever. Um, and so I'm closing the gap, is kind of spreading it out as I can. Because I think once you see more zeros and getting yourself to that next double zero at the end is indicative of, more coming in, and you're seeing stimulation happening with your GoFundMe, and it's being spread amongst the masses, in better ways when you're able to donate to multiple campaigns and multiple mutual aids. So that's just something that a recommendation that I have is, if you have the funds and the resources, to spread it, especially if you have no direct connection. I can understand, obviously, if you have a direct connection, to focus on your family, because I by all means do so. But if you have no direct connection and just want to support the community, taking the opportunity to kind of look like, if it says um, they have 14 for 18, you'd give them the remaining 82 that they need to get to the next 100, if that makes sense. Because they had the 418 at the end, and we want to get it to the next, which would be make it 500. So I think that's just a way of being as communal as possible as you can. And if you can't do the to the 10, do it to the ones. So if it's at 3, you add $7 to it, and if it's at 4, you add 6 to it, or if it's at 0, you add a 10 to it, because that's the next 0. Um, Maybe giving yourself another leniency, if it's at 9, you do it to 13 or what have you, so that you are able to spread as much as you can to the community. Those dollars do matter, because every dollar will count when you're trying to rebuild your life. On a more personal note, I'd like to share some updates. I am back in school as of this week, which is crazy to think about. Um, I should have been done and graduating this December, but um, I had to, and this is not had to from an external standpoint, very internal on this. I had to pick up a minor. I felt like there was another layer of learning that I wanted to do that was not required of me, and I'm trying to prolong my time in academia consistently. And because I don't want to go off to medical school until my daughter graduates, who's only a sophomore right now, which means that I have 2 full years plus the remainder of this year to start medical school. Assuming that she goes right off to college. If she takes a semester off or a full year, I may decide to go ahead and get my master's in clinical nutrition and then go off. But I'm ultimately going to become a doctor and go through matriculate through my doctoral program for naturopathic medicine. But I've been reflecting on just like how 5 years ago I never would have assumed that I was going to go back to school in within 5 years, much less ever again. um, because I think I had gotten so comfortable in what I was capable of doing in sales, because I like the last position that I was getting ready to potentially move into was like a sales manager, being personally moved by and trained by the director of sales, and being told that like I have something that's very unique in the way that I approach my customers and clients. I am, certainly qualified to teach others and manage others. And I'm like, I said that I would never manage at another office again or for another company again, because the last time I did, I was responsible for adults that I shouldn't have been responsible for, but I understand how businesses operate. Um, there should have been some shared responsibility, but in many cases, it was, oh, you allowed this to happen on your shift. And so I didn't enjoy that. So I kind of made a personal vow to never move beyond, the greatest employee level without, or associate level without moving into senior or even mid-level roles, because I didn't want responsibility, especially for other personnel. Now, if I was like a lead in something, but I'm not responsible for others, I'm just there if they have questions. Um, and I'm operating from, a document, or just off of what policies are, and being that second level of customers need an escalation, I'm fine with that. But just being like generally responsible for people outside of being a CEO, when I worked for other people, I wasn't willing to do that. So I ultimately retired, and I've been back in school. I originally returned back to school first to go through my 6-month program to be a wellness life coach, and then I also opted for the self study uh, double module. So I had a second curriculum for academic coaching. So when I went to begin as a coach, I decided that my branding would be wellness and academic coaching, because there is an element of stimulating your brain that aids in your overall wellness. Um, so I wanted to create a space through coaching for that. And then 2 years later, last year, I went through the program's additional uh, certification course to become a board certified um, health coach. And so I was supposed to take my exam last fall, but I ended up not taking it because of what was going on with my health. I wasn't didn't give the attention to studying that I needed to be sitting for a proctored exam to be a certified coach. And so I'm planning to sit for that either this spring or this summer, which I'm really excited about because I'm moving more into wanting to health coach. I haven't taken on any health coach clients. And if anybody inquired about it, I would tell them that I could partner with one of my coaching peers and who has moved through this process more effectively, and we could start with a dual leader and coach, and then once I feel confident, either you stay with them if you like their style, or come with me. And it's just something that I've been adjusting to learning, and I'm really excited about like this personal journey and continuation of a journey of returning to school, because again, like I said, 5 years ago, if I had said, Sierra, you going back to school in 5 years, I would have laughed at myself, because I was making pretty good money. I was um like my home was filled with what I assumed at the time was love. Like I didn't feel like there was any sneaky behavior happening. It soon thereafter did start with my ex, but we were good and I was making great money. Life was good. We was just adjusting to life as it was. Um but there's been so much happening in the interwebs, the space online, that has just made me very reflective of like I said, being online for two decades. Like part of me says that I want to step away, and then part of me is enjoying the journey because I've been able to diversify the community that I build, because each app has its own algorithm and connects with people in different ways. Because like TikTok, you go viral for the most random thing, and usually for Instagram, um, there's a connection that happens when you are authentically yourself, but funny, and relatable, and just you know there's a different type of strategy that is needed to go successful and be have great success on Instagram. Um, and I've had some moments that felt like great success. By no means was it like, oh, I went viral, but I've had moments where I'm like, oh, wow, okay, I got quite a few views on that. Or what did I do? And I reflect on the strategies, if I at all, that I used. And it kind of feels, this is going to be a strange analogy, but it's actually quite perfect. how um, things taste when you're trying a new recipe and you're only going off of maybe trying it at a restaurant one time and watching or looking at a paper recipe with no video, so you don't see how it's made. You just try to remember based on taste and the recipe how it could potentially go very well or it can go very bad. Is sometimes how, and like how you season it with maybe blindfolds. That's kind of like the likelihood of going successful and having a viral video. And when I say blindfold, like it's black, you don't know where anything is, things have been moved around, and you're making a recipe from taste and having to like read it and then do everything based on memory after you've read it. That's what it feels like to go viral. Which would not be impossible because people do it. It probably can. I think I would be able to open things, smell it. I probably would be able to do it blindfolded. It depends on how lengthy the instructions are and how difficult, just as far as process, not difficulty in the kitchen, but just like number of steps. I probably would be able to do that, but it's very difficult to go. Is ultimately what my point is, to go viral on Instagram, and I think I've gotten to a place in life where I'm not seeking virality. I'm really just being myself online authentically as I can. Sometimes a bit of a yapper overshare, which is why we even have anything like Talk Tuesday, because I'm able to talk through things that I'm very interested in. And I'm really excited and like grateful to just be in this space. I don't know. Sometimes I usually just like centralize gratitude season during the month of November because it truly is National Gratitude Month. But I've been feeling a wave of gratuitous, if you will, energy, and I'm just grateful. So I guess that's all for today's episode. I think I had something else I wanted to talk about, but I want to save that for another Talk Tuesday because I don't know all the facts. And I was going to be talking today about more about Beyonce, because whatever was supposed to be dropped, but that did not get dropped. She announced last night that it wasn't going to be dropped. So I had to kind of mark that part of the topic as not relevant for today. Hopefully, we get a new date soon because she did not mention, which I didn't anticipate that she would. If she was postponing something, um, especially considering how unprecedented and unsure of the timeline that this can be impacted in the community, she may not release this till weeks from now. Who knows? I don't know. So that's really just all for today's topics. Thank you for joining me as we navigated through some important but some also funny topics. Remembering the strength of our community lies in our commitment to growth and understanding. And stay tuned for more content. I'll be back on Sunday for Soul Care Sunday. We're talking gumbo and grace. And just to give you a little preview of what we're going to be discussing, as a raised churchy girl who grew up in a non-denominational church with connections to missionary Baptist, missionary Baptist, Pentecostal, Kojic, and Baptist, with connections to all of those denominations, plus my own personal non-denominational church. I was a teen mom. My heart hurt so much for that girl who had to stand up in front of her church and apologize to the church. And so I'll be making gumbo next week. And so I want to talk about gumbo and grace. That's really kind of the through line thread of next week's conversation. And why what happened kind of goes completely against the very thing that the teenage pregnant girl needs, which is community and understanding. And forcing someone to apologize for something that they need understanding through, when these people are not harmed by what she did, is so disheartening. But I want to save that for next week, because um, I want to talk about it on Sunday because it'll be Sunday. So that'll be Soul Care Sunday. And then Music Mondays next week is returning. I haven't decided if I want, not haven't decided. I'm pretty confident that I'm going to be doing my top albums of 2024. Again, I'm kind of slowly returning back to the social media space because grief was kicking my ass last month. Literally the last 30 days have been pretty difficult within my family and just some of the losses that we've had and personal losses that I've experienced. But I've had a lot of beauty going on. So I've been able to like functionally, non-functionally be online. Like I'm here, but I'm not really here. And so stay tuned for that more content. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, take care and take well. Or take care and be well. Girl, what? Take care. Be well, y'all. Love y'all.